she makes different sounds in these churches. And my theory is that these 3D visual sounds in churches. And what she's found is that in these old churches, there's these fractal-like recordings that she basically finds in the water, and she has a couple different techniques that happens when she's, she makes different sounds in these churches. And my theory is that these churches were built with sound vibration, like, in mind, because they knew that it had an effect on the body and had an effect on their soul. It's like these temples would bounce sound around infinitely, and the people who created these structures knew that that had an effect on the body. I mean, some of these structures are magnificent, you know what I mean? And the fact that they applied a spiritual significance to it, the golden ratio, perfect proportion.
No, you got it. I like to add too there that it's the organs of wood that were in these cathedrals here. I don't know if I can get it. Oh, I don't know where I'm going here now. Oh well. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, in the cathedral, it was all the organs.
These 3D visual sounds in churches. And what she's found is that in these old churches, there's these fractal-like recordings that she basically finds in the...
And I believe that this is that tone and the vibration that is coming off of this wood. Okay, and even the stained glass windows, same thing. Same thing as they would, put in with the sunglasses. So again, it's coming from the wood, this vibration.
Water, and she has a couple different techniques that happens when she's, she makes different sounds in these churches. And my theory is that these churches were built with sound vibration, like, in mind, because they knew that it had an effect on the body and had an effect on their soul. It's like these temples would bounce sound around infinitely, and the people who created these structures knew that that had an effect on the body. I mean, some of these structures are magnificent, you know what I mean? And the fact that they applied a spiritual significance to it, the golden into consideration when making these temples.
Like, look at the wood, That's all wood. And then the windows, well, they were all, I mean, why not the windows? I mean, if they could do the glasses. But then again, yeah. But yeah, look at this. It was the wood, the vibration, the evil energy. Can you imagine? And then you've got Jonathan Kleck with that evil looking thing, it's just evil. Where is that?
Through the cross. Here's what salvation looks like.
Hold on. Sorry about this, folks. It's going to get a little ugly here. But again, it's about the tree. It's about the energy that is coming from that tree. So I just wanted you to hear a bit what he has to say about this dry tree that he has molded and crafted, Sounds like he's a little impressed with himself because of this. Could be wrong.
I started carving this wood. I was going to carve it into an angel. And I started carving, and look at this. Half the face. You're a B'nai Elohim. I carved before I got saved. This was a big beam to a house. It was kiln dried, and I started carving this wood. I was going to carve it into an angel,
And I started carving, and look at this. Half the face sure looks like, let's see, let's just keep the camera rolling. Look at that. How about that? Half the face looks like, you know, pretty innocuous, no big deal.
Absolutely
now watch this.
demonic.
Let's look at the other half of the face. Look at this half of the face. My goodness, it looks the same. So, and now look what's in between. This is a knot that was in the wood, everybody. This knot was in the wood. I couldn't see it when I started carving it. But once I carved through enough wood to make the face, look at the image that I carved of Jesus right in the middle. And look how the knot of wood even makes his legs coming down. And look how this makes streams of tears dripping down onto the other side, onto the chest and the shoulders of this fallen angel image. Guess.
Yes, fallen angel image in wood. Dry wood. Okay, so now I want to just be patient with me here.
A long time. Drink energy. Kind of like scaffolding that we built that in the 1800s. What's so fascinating about this is the idea that in the past, right, we've gone over all sorts of types of inventions and different technologies that the ancients were thinking about. Let's ask this question. Do we think that eventually the ancients were like, when they were building all these big, that's going to start to be brought up? And so the first thing, obviously, is going to be fire, right? But we know that that wouldn't work after time, right? So they would have to elevate that idea. And that's what I think this is these illuminations are not fire-based. And they are some kind of invention of, you know, it could be mercury-based. It could be purely some type of device that's producing enough heat to have an illumination. And the way that it's producing this heat is through some type of mechanism that we don't understand. You know, and there's a lot of different depictions of this. I really, really appreciate this blog because it's like all this ties in once you see the bigger picture. You know what I mean? And then you're going to see all these different devices, right, on the top that we're going to see similar trends. Okay? So what I take from this is that they had the ability to light all these structures on a grand scale. And this is not fire. Again, this is not fire. This is some type of glowing chemical reaction that they would use for huge events. And I think there's a reason why we're not told about this. There's a reason, and again, here's something different. Vases. Okay, so these vases would glow to produce light. So again, it's just different ideas in different ways that they thought of creating light.
Okay.
Fire happened, which was very strange considering it doesn't seem like there was any investigation whatsoever. And also, the official narrative here is that it was a short circuit, okay? So remember those two things, at least in regards to the short circuit, which we'll be getting into in regards to a fire chief. Now, I've got a video. This is a more wider view for just for reference purposes of an individual on the roof, okay, doing something strange. We're going to go into this with a much more closer view here. I've just included a wider view for reference purposes. So in this video, which I've got some references as well, you have to look out for two things. When the camera pulls in, you'll see a flash where the person's next to. Then they move to another location and there's another flash itself. So let's go into it here. I've got this looped. So don't worry, I know my cursor's got a red thing over it. For the first initial view, I'm just going to show you what's happening here. So in this location, you see that flash itself. Now when the camera actually pulls in, you'll see a flash here as well. It's very hard to pull out. I'll just leave my cursor off the screen. You should see it around that location. Did you catch that flash? That is when the figure moves to this location here and you see a flash. Now there is an object obscuring the view for what is slightly, whatever's behind that, but it seems in front of that there is a flash itself. So there's two flashes by this figure who's moving around on the rooftop, which if this video is recorded at the time it says it is, and there is the flash round about there. If this video is recorded at the time and place it states it is, that shows that this person is doing something on the rooftop. It's unknown, of course it's heavily pixelated. You'll find out why in a moment, because I pronounce his name, not sure, who served as a chief architect for historical monuments in France, and he oversaw the restoration of Notre Dame until 2013. So obviously this is a major historical landmark in France, so you don't put someone in charge of this that doesn't have a massive curriculum vitae, so to speak, in terms of education and all this kinds of stuff. Let's have a look at the quotes they said, and specifically, and I apologise for not having a citation from this article. I forgot to add it here, but I should have included it. So you're telling us that this type of timber doesn't burn like that. That's the interviewer. And the inspector says, oak that is 800 years old is very hard. Try to burn it. Indeed, from what I've been able to find out on the internet and things like that, and it sort of turns into a type of very hard wood. I'm assuming it would be equivalent to an Australian hardwood. If anyone's familiar with that, it's like iron, or ironwood I think it's called. And I've worked with it myself in a workshop, and it's very, very hard. It is like iron, okay, and it's very hard to burn. Now, that's an assumption, but 800-year-old oak would be extremely hard. Well, it almost seems like a petrified wood at that type of age. Old oak, he says, is not easy at all. You would need a lot of kindling to succeed, and it stumpifies me. Then the interviewer asked in regards to other things, and in regards to the additional precautions that could have been taken to ensure such a quick incineration could be prevented, and he stated that in his opinion, in the 90s, he stated, we updated all the electrical wiring of Notre Dame, he said. So there is no possibility of a short circuit. We updated to conform with contemporary norms, even going very far, all the detection and protection systems against the fire in the cathedral. Interesting comment, considering the official narrative is that it was a short circuit. How would they even know that? I mean, you've got a building burning.
I'm sorry that you have to see this, but again, I hope this doesn't pop up like it did the last time. But here we have them talking about this south room. This is why I stopped here.
Closely connected with Canonis.
Okay, closely connected to Canonis or Canonis. That's, the god of the forest. Again, this is all Jonathan Kleck, right? Southwest, west. It's all, it's crazy. Okay. So you can see here where this is Cernunnos, okay, looking every which way. This is what it's called. And again, this is the ancient stone. This is the god of the forest, of animals, and again, this is, trees. Son of man, set thy face toward the south and drop thy word towards the south and prophesy against the forest of the south field. And say to the forest of the south field, hear the word of the Lord.